Good morning, everyone. Today we continue our study with Chapter 16, Completing Assessment Reports and Archiving Evaluation Documents. I am your presenter, Tan Yukin. In the previous chapter, we learned how to determine ability levels. This chapter focuses on accurately and standardly recording assessment results and systematically archiving these documents for management. This phase represents the concluding segment of the assessment process and is equally critical. The chapter content is divided into two main modules. 1. How to properly fill out the Elderly Ability Assessment Report. 2. How to systematically filing of abilities assessment documents for older persons. Now we proceed to the first module of learning. Upon completing the evaluation, assessors must document the findings in the Older Adult Ability Assessment Report. This formal written document serves both as an objective record of the older adult's ability level and as a crucial reference for subsequent care and services. Therefore, the report must be completed rigorously, truthfully, and completely without omissions or arbitrariness. The following diagram shows the specific older adults capacity assessment report, which includes primary indicator classifications, preliminary level scores, preliminary level of elderly people's abilities, and basis for changing ability level. Then record the final ability level of seniors, finally indicate the assessment location and time, and sign the names of the evaluators and information providers. Additionally, when filling out the report, 3 principles must be followed. Principle I fill in according to regulations. The assessment report for the elderly should be filled out using a black ink pen, ensuring neat handwriting, clear and legible characters, no blank entries, and no arbitrary alterations. Principle 2. Objectivity and truth. Assessors should base their assessments on facts and objectively evaluate the competence level of the assessed individuals. Principle 3. Accuracy. Assessors should base their assessments on facts and objectively evaluate the competence level of the assessed individuals. We now examine the specific reporting requirements for assessment documentation, which are crucial for ensuring accurate results. 1. Primary indicator scores. The scores of the 4 primary indicators must be equal to the sum of the scores of the corresponding secondary indicators. Multiple calculations should be performed to ensure the accuracy of the results. 2. Preliminary grade score. The preliminary grade score is obtained by adding the scores of the 4 primary indicators. 3. Preliminary level of elderly ability. Based on the preliminary level score and the elderly ability level classification standard shown in the elderly ability level classification standard, check the corresponding option in the preliminary level of elderly ability column. 4. Basis for changing competency level. Based on the actual situation of the assessed object, check the corresponding option in the basis for changing competency level column. The selected basis for changing competency level must be consistent with the relevant content in the basic information form of assessed object disease, diagnosis, and medication status form. and health-related issues in Project 2. 5. Final level of ability of the elderly. Based on the preliminary level of ability of the elderly and the basis for the change of ability level, check the corresponding option in the final level of ability of the elderly column. 6. Fill in the assessment location. Fill in the detailed address of the assessment location, including province, city, county / district, township / street, village / community residence / building and floor and room number. 7. Assessors' signatures and dates. After the final assessment of the elderly person's ability, Level 2 assessors should sign in the assessor's signature area in no particular order. The name signed by the assessor must match the name on their work ID, and one of the assessors should fill in the date. 8. Information providers' signature and date. After the final assessment of the elderly person's ability level, the information provider should sign or provide a fingerprint if illiterate and date. The information provider's signature must be consistent with the relevant information in Item 2, Information Provider and Contact Person Information Form. Besides, report completion, the systematic organization and archiving of assessment documents holds equal importance. We now examine the standardized protocol for archiving older adult ability assessment files. 2. Classification systems are commonly employed. One approach follows the sequence of year, institution, or issue retention period for classification. Another approach organizes according to year retention period, institution, or issue. Regardless of the chosen methodology, consistent standardization must be maintained to ensure efficient retrieval. How to specifically understand these 3 dimensions. First, classification by year. The rule is simple. Categorize according to the year the document was created. If an assessment spans multiple years, it should be classified under the year in which it was finally completed. Second, classification by institution or issue. Archived documents should be classified and filed according to the institution that created them or the content reflected in the documents. When archiving elderly capacity assessment documents, only one method can be used: archiving by institution or archiving by issue. Third, classification by retention period. The retention period is determined based on the objective preservation value of the archived documents and is divided into permanent retention and periodic retention. Periodic retention generally has 2 periods, 30 years and 10 years. When archiving elderly people's ability assessment documents, they can be divided into different categories according to their different preservation values. Therefore, archiving involves flexibly combining these dimensions to establish a clear and long-term management system. Several critical precautions require emphasis during archival management. 1. Designate a special storage room or delineate a storage area for storing elderly capacity assessment documents. Ensure that the storage room and storage area are well ventilated with suitable temperature and humidity, and hang signs in a prominent position. 2. After placing the archived documents into the file box, in order of document number 1 box per person or 1 box per multiple people, fill in the spine of the file box and the remarks form. Archived documents from different years, institutions' issues, and retention periods cannot be placed in the same file box. 3. Compile an archived file catalog and place it in an easily accessible location in the storage room or storage area. 4. Establish a file management system including sealing, querying, cancellation and return, etc., and have a designated person manage the files. Let us now examine a practical case for critical reflection. After completing an assessment, novice assessor Xiaolin did 3 things while organizing all the assessment materials for an elderly person. First, he quickly filled out the report with a pencil, and when he found a calculation error, he simply erased it with an eraser to correct it. Second, he put all of the old man's assessment forms, along with the materials from the previous assessment subject, into the same file box. Third, he checked 2 or more care risk events have occurred in the past 30 days in the basis for change of competency level column, but no relevant records were found in the previous health-related issues and other forms. Please answer in the above scenario, what are at least 3 important operational guidelines or principles that Xiaolin violated? Please briefly explain what the correct course of action should be. Please consider which operational standards did he violate in these practices and how should they be corrected. Today's course concludes here. While the content of this chapter may seem detailed, it holds significant importance in practical work. The completion of assessment reports directly affects the care rights of older adults, while document archiving relates to the continuity and scientific rigor of evaluation work. We hope that through this lesson you will be able to implement both standardized and meticulous practices in your future work. Thank you all.